Hello, everyone. Welcome at our regular DevSync on Monday. We'll share updates from the whole team and plans for the immediate future. Ozgun, do you want to start today?
I can, yeah. Okay, so last week we made a couple of updates to Subspace desktop. One of them is resizable window, so that now our users will be able to resize the window of the application. We also introduced a fix for the OpenSSL bug, which we spent a lot of time on the weekend. So basically, the application was using the library of OpenSSL 1.1, but it was got rid of in the Ubuntu 22. So we found some workaround and finally fixed it. And we released version 0.6.10. And along with that, I tested some OpenCL changes on the slots with my two of the GPUs, one of them AMD, one of them NVIDIA. I think these are the main updates, and this week I will try to focus on improving the menu of the desktop application.
Okay. Anything outside of menu? That seems like not a whole lot.
Yeah, still waiting some answers from the rotate lock issue from the tracing team. And also some of the updates that I'm gonna do is relying on the Jeremiah's mockup. So I'm trying to finish the backlog things in the meantime.
Okay. Any questions to Ozgun from the team? Okay. Lucheng, you're next.
Okay, sure. So last week, I spent some time debugging the thinking issue observed on XNet. It's not yet resolved, but has caught some attention from the party folks. I also fixed an executor issue, which the secondary chain can be higher than the primary chain if the node gets restarted. The executor node and the RPC nodes on XNet has been updated to like a recent version, including this fix. Apart from that, I was working on checking the receipts included in each primary block. I have sent the PR, the first part, which mainly aims to figure out the overall workflow. Some to-dos, still some to-dos that will be adjusted in the next PR. For this week, I will probably continue the work on checking the primary receipts if no progress on the domains design. Yeah, that's it from my side.
Okay, makes sense to me. Any questions from the team? All right, Serge, what about you?
Yeah, so I mostly work on desktop as usual. A bunch of stuff is blocked by the lack of design. For example, voting rewards, like handling errors for syncing and farming, and false transition from syncing to synced state. So those require additional like UI changes. And apart from that, I was working on the Tauri updater integration. And I'm currently trying to deploy on Cloudflare since we're already using it. And yeah, it requires additional key pair generation for Tauri updates specifically. So I'm trying to understand how can we add them. And also I was building a proof of concept for the state management solution for Subspace Desktop, the one that I suggested previously. And it's not perfect, but it handles like all the main transitions. And yeah, we can discuss it on apps meeting. That's all.
Okay, on the updater side, I saw there are public and private key in the vault. I think Justin may have worked on that. Justin, maybe you can clarify.
Those are different keys. So we need a separate key pair for updates.
Interesting. I have no idea about that key pair then, but whatever. Yeah, updater I think would be one of the major great things to have in the immediate future, especially with the rate of updates that we have. It would be really nice if they could just click a button. Okay, any questions from the team? All right, what, you're next.
Morning, everyone. Last week, spent some good amount of time catching up with our consensus changes, and I have a document on how we can approach light client here in Notion. Let me share it here, but it's under protocol engineering, I think. I'm sharing it here. Give me a second. Was that again spend some time looking at other protocols that we are leaning towards, layer 0, for example, and also Snowfork. Looked into the code base and see what's the status of it. Was that else very minor work on infrastructure? I think mostly handing over to Alexei. And there is one PR that I left that I haven't able to fix up the review set, so I was working on that minorly. This week, I want to focus on the light client. Any feedback on this would be really, really great so that I know that I'm on the right path. If we have that, then I can actually have some kind of a tech spec done for it and make some progress there as well. That is most likely my major focus this week. And I'm talking to Jeremiah, see if there is other things that I can handle as well on the domains and messaging as well. We are syncing async, so I'll have more post that meeting as well. That is all from my end right now.
Okay, I'll take a look at the light client for sure.
Yeah, that would be amazing. Thanks.
Any other questions, comments from the team? All right, Daria, what's on your end?
Well, from the dev side, I was basically going through the spec and trying to actually find where are the things the spec is talking about done in the code. And so like halfway through, just got to the verification of new blocks, and that's a whole thing on itself. And I have been taking notes to the things that are not really in sync between the spec and the code. And most of them are things like, something is called the replica sector size in the spec that doesn't exist in code. In code, it's called the range size and so on and so forth. So I'm trying to keep track of all of those things so then we can update the spec accordingly. So we'll just keep doing that basically throughout this week. I have also put together a little page on Notion about things that I have found useful about testing and test vectors of my previous experience with integrating with blockchains. So I'm not sure, maybe, I guess, Alexei could take a look at that. There is one, Filecoin is doing some interesting things. Let me copy.
Guys, if you have those pages on the engineering side, just post them in the engineering chat in the Discord so everyone can see and follow and comment.
Okay,
So
yeah,
you don't have to wait for this dev thing.
Today, basically, because I remember today that I has promised this to you last week, so I did it today. So this one interesting testing thing that Filecoin has, I haven't tried it yet, but it looks cool to me. So maybe if someone with a better test experience can look at it, would be nicer.
Okay, thank you. Any questions or comments to what Daria has said? All right, Alexei, what about you?
Hello, everyone. So last week I was reviewing Vet's PR. It was pretty large, so I learned a lot about infrastructure and how things are working. So this week I'm going to finish templating for Docker Compose so that we could put new directives programmatically. For example, like reserve nodes. Also, we could edit command section. Sorry. Also, I was looking for how to enable Ubuntu, the newest Ubuntu 22.04 for higher concurrency. So I will tweak some settings and to test that, how exactly we handle this. I will write a Python code, and it will be deployed in a parallel manner, so we could achieve easily about 60,000 of WebSocket connections, so that we'll be sure that our settings are correct. And I'm planning to finish all these activities this week, and also maybe I will introduce some Ansible workarounds, some tutorials, how to work with it, so that the team easily use this tool for the needs, and actually I think would be good.
Okay, sounds really good. Any questions, comments from the team? All right, Shamil, what about you?
Last week, I implemented a PubSub feature for archiving segments for the DSN. Currently, it works along with the RPC version, but we plan to replace it in the future. We also had a planning meeting for the DSN sync test with Nazar, Alexei, and Ivan. For this week, I plan to test DSN sync on my local machine using a couple of Docker Compose configurations. I need 2 CLI flags implemented on the farmer side by Ivan. Meanwhile, I started to research the circuit relay protocol from libp2p. This feature will improve our farmer architecture. One of the improvements would be reducing open port number for multi-farming back to a single one, in contrast with the current state when we open a new port for each plot. That's it.
Okay, awesome and brief as usual. Thank you. Any questions, comments from the team?
Yeah, I've got one. Yeah, I've missed the part where you talked about like which feature you need from me. Yeah, could you repeat that?
Those 2 flags for farmers that enables or disables archiving.
Oh, gotcha. Thanks.
Okay, Ivan, that's your turn.
Yeah, sure. During last week, I was working on the integration of the Subspace networking into the farmer. So yeah, there were some flaws with that, because right after that, we synced about how we would approach like with testing the networking, etc. After that, we decided to write an integration test on the farmer side, so that we could start like several farmers. Yeah, and so that they could sync some exact pieces. And there are some issues with that currently. I hope to fix that test today or tomorrow. Yeah, most likely today, I think. Yeah. Apart from that, yeah, there was I finally finished the pull request, which was related to adding the backwards iteration for the parity DB. Yeah, and currently, yeah, some party folks already commented on that. But there are still some issues, as I also worked on the integration of like that parity DB into our code base, and it seems that yeah, there are some flaws related to like performance. Yeah, I need to like take some time to benchmark, to optimize, because like they don't use like loops very much, and they use recursion. I think I missed some things related to like tail recursion. Yeah, so yeah. This week I hope to finish that test, integration test for DSN, and I guess if it's fine, I will finish the parity DB pull request. Yeah, hope to get done this week. Yeah, I guess after that I will work on the either on the DSN part, yeah, or I will work on the improving some things on the farmer. Yeah, that's all on my end.
Yeah, I think about loops versus recursion. Recursion often is more problematic like you can exceed the stack size or something like that. So if you can have loops, then it probably is better optimized. I don't think there is a tail call optimization in Rust yet. I don't think it's enabled.
Actually, I questioned that thing, and yeah, but they do not guarantee that they even have it. Yeah, they don't have it in the compiler, but they have it in LLVM. Yeah, so I guess they just didn't hit that optimization, or I didn't hit that optimization. Yeah, and that's pretty bad.
Okay, at least we have some feedback from the folks.
Yeah, true.
Any questions, comments from the team? All right, Justin, are you here?
Yeah. So for last week, I've just been continuing to work with the interns and the ambassadors to, help answer questions and everything on the forums and get users up and running with the new updates and everything. As we move into this week, we're going to be working on cleaning up previous posts on the forums, just trying to kind of practice, some good hygiene practice as far as like cleaning up titles, adding some tags to things, encouraging users to mark posts as solved, etc. Just to try and get that forum to a good place for future phases of the testnet. Continuing to improve the documentation. I just released a bit of an update to the UI, to the nav bar and the sidebars last week, which hopefully should make it not as confusing as it was prior. We're also going to be working with Ryan to add a how to contribute to the docs guide, which should hopefully start to bring in some community contribution to various portions of that docs as well, and just various other bug fixes that we'll be working on with that. Also working with the ambassadors this week, or some of the ambassadors on an ambassador learning program that they've been working on for the new cohort, to help bring in new ambassadors and to help the ambassador support team as well. And beyond that, yeah, just did some testing last week with Ozgun on some bugs with Subspace Desktop, and going to be continuing to just wrap up some of the other final items for phase 1 of the Gemini testnet with the business team.
All right, sounds good. Any other questions, comments from the team? All right, it's my turn then. Last week I've updated a few libraries and Substrate in our monorepo with some fixes and improvements. One of the improvements was to finally disable RocksDB from the node, so it's not physically compiled in, which makes the binary smaller, which makes the builds faster, and allows us to remove some workarounds that we had to enforce parity DB. Cross compilation was added for macOS, so the next snapshot will actually include AR64 macOS builds native for M1. There were some other improvements for CI. There were some documentation updates for the OpenCL. I think we need to work some more on that because it seems to require OpenCL even for the node, even when you don't have any device, just like it needs the library. So that's something that was reported last week, and I will be working on that. Removed some dependencies we had that were not necessary, and started refactoring of the farmer a little bit. The idea is to have a notion of single plot farm where we are dealing with just one 100 gigabyte, up to 100 gigabyte plot. Then to have abstraction on top of that, which is multi-plots farm, where you have multiple of those. And that multi-plots farm will be dealing with one physical drive, or what appears to be one drive, so like one hard drive. And then on top of that, there will be an abstraction which allows to manage multiple drives. That way we can have different concurrency parameters for different drives, and we can avoid trashing the hard drive with random access to different parts of the drive. We can have like 1 or 2 concurrent processes for every drive. We can do them in parallel, so we can use less memory, less CPU, and high performance all at the same time. And there is also a plan to add a separation between the plot location and location for databases. So we can have several hard drives, and we can use one moderately sized SSD to store all the metadata for those. And those will be on different physical drives. So all of that basically to optimize the performance that we've discovered from the big hard drive installations of Subspace right now. And yeah, and some other minor cleanups, and a lot of the time was actually spent on the code reviews from the team. So keep up the good work. Yeah, this week I'll continue probably refactoring on the farmer side and doing some other improvements, and we'll try to document some of the next steps of how we can improve performance on the farmer side, because there is a lot that we've learned through the last 2 weeks from the actual deployments. Any questions, comments from the team about any of what I said or anything else really? All right. Thanks everyone for attending. Thanks everyone for watching on YouTube, and we'll see you next week, same time, same place.